Good morning, Michigan. Michael Patrick Shiels, radio stations across the state of Michigan. Coverage of Governor Gretchen Whitmer's State of the State address through the AT&T microphones before, during, and after the speech includes the likes of Tony Daunt, the executive director of the Michigan Freedom Fund, who, first of all, is with us on our AT&T line. And welcome back, sir. Good to have you.
Good morning. Always a pleasure to be here.
Your office, like our studio, is right kitty corner from the Capitol and right around the corner from the governor's office, and so you have a good view and a good ear on what goes on over there. And I see this year you have decided to help us all with a bit of kind of a lexicon, kind of a schooling. If we're going to listen to or watch this speech, you're going to help us understand the translation from the language of politician to the language of English.
Yes, sir. That's we decided to have a little bit of fun with this because oftentimes these are things where these speeches, everybody pays attention that in the square mile of the Capitol, but not much coverage outside of that. And so for the people who are picking up on things, either for the first time or they see the coverage, we just wanted to put out a helpful little tip for when a politician says things in a speech, in particular this politician, Governor Whitmer, what it actually means is this. And so for an example, I think what we're likely to hear several times tomorrow is she'll say something along the lines of, because the legislature didn't act or the legislature won't act or some such variation of that. Really what she's saying is the legislature won't do precisely what I want in precisely the fashion I want it done. And I think a lot of that's related to her foolish proposal last year on the 45-cent gas tax hike that she didn't get. She didn't get even a Democratic sponsor of that proposal in either chamber of the legislature. And so she's frustrated, she's upset, and now she's threatening basically to raise taxes via another vehicle, which is basically bonding, which is basically taking out a loan on a credit card and leading to higher taxes for our kids down the road. And any number of proposals were floated to her by the Republicans. She just didn't like them, didn't want to negotiate with them, said 45 cents per gallon or nothing. And this is where we are.
Let's go through so that we can be prepared and we can listen like you do at the Michigan Freedom Fund, Tony Daunt, some of the terms, and maybe we'll go in relatively alphabetical order here. Starting with accountability. You might hear the governor talk about accountability. What does that mean?
So for normal people, accountability means we're going to be held accountable. We're going to, you can take us to task for the things that we do or don't do, or support us for them. Really what she's saying is we're going to hold someone else to a standard that our office refuses to meet. And what we mean by that is, she makes a big show out of things such as transparency and making sure that people receive FOIA information more quickly and appropriately. And she simply refuses to participate in FOIA. She could very easily, with an executive order, say, I hereby declare that the executive office is subject to the FOIA laws. She doesn't do that because it's all talk and it's accountability for others, not for her.
The I word, incentive.
Yes, one of my favorites. Taxpayer-funded handout usually to big business is our definition. And we also have in there, in this glossary, a note of C, the word subsidy, which is also taxpayer-funded handout, usually to big business, as well as tax credit, which is also taxpayer-funded handout, usually to big business. And the reason we point that out is because there's always a lot of talk about, incentives to job creation, subsidies, tax credits, things that are meant to, per politician speak, draw business here, keep it here. The reality is the vast majority of businesses that are here in Michigan, that come to Michigan, do so for reasons that have nothing to do with receiving a handout from the government. And we want to make sure that we're setting up a level playing field, that the legislature and the governor have a level playing field for all businesses, whether they be big, medium, or small. And one way we can do that is get rid of these incentives that really apply only to the big businesses and ultimately hurt their competitors that are already in the state that are here, without those subsidies.
Let's take another I word that you've listed at the Michigan Freedom Fund, translating politician to English in advance of the State address, and that is investment.
Yeah, so, for normal folks out there, investment usually means that you save some money and you put it in a savings account, you put it in a 401k, you put it in some other vehicle that is going to reward you down the road, that when you retire, you'll have some money to live off of. What politicians mean when they say investment almost invariably is new or increased spending at the expense of working Michiganians. And it's a buzzword, it's a code word for spending more. And we want to make sure that people, again, are aware of that. I think most people are pretty good. They've picked up on some of these buzzwords over the years. But, again, for those just tuning in maybe for the first time or seeing, a big fluffy speech from a politician, that's what they're saying. They're saying we're gonna spend more of your money.
New money that they're going to get through new revenue, which you say translates to a tax hike. And then we get to the word tax credit, which is usually a taxpayer-funded handout to big business. So you hear these words, and they sound very, on the surface, harmless, but not necessarily. And the one that I would really love to hear your translation of, Tony Daunt, is when the governor says, the legislature won't act.
That's exactly that. They won't do precisely what I want, precisely how I want it done. And it kind of harkens back to the Obama, I have a pen and a phone phrase, which means I don't have relationships with the legislature. I don't know how to negotiate. And so therefore I'm going to do what I can administratively. And I think that's the wrong way to go about doing things for the state of Michigan and getting buy-in from everybody.
Last word for now, but you can read all of them if you wish at the Michigan Freedom Fund website or the Front Lines for Freedom newsletter that comes out every week with 30 seconds or so. I have heard the word triage, that we can expect to hear that being used when it comes to the roads.
Oh, yeah. That's, I think that's a big one for basically harkening back to her failure to get anything done with the roads. And when she says triage, what she's saying is, I've got some short-term fixes and Band-Aids that commonly used during Michigan's lost decade, reflects absence of a plan, vision, or ability to lead towards compromise.
That's triage, and he's Tony Daunt at the Michigan Freedom Fund. School is out, but just for the moment.